with his John Lennon glasses and his gallon of water, walking out of the canyon, and he called him Chatsworth Charlie. I hardly ever see him anymore, but I know we have a whole lot more homeless people now than when I first moved into Chatsworth over 20 years ago. And I believe that everyone has a right to a place to shower, a place to go to the restroom, and a safe place to sleep. And I would like to see us be able to do that in Chatsworth, but still maintain our property values. And I think we can do both.
Hi, Susan McCall. Clearly the homeless problem is a serious problem. It's not just here, it's in a lot of the communities around here, in fact in other states. The first thing that I would do is work with a homeless committee here and really try to understand what the fundamental issues are, and then strategically work with the city and see if there's any way that we can come up with little stepstones in providing the solution. I mean, there's also another class of people besides the people that are homeless and don't work, that may be ill and are completely on the streets. So there are folks that actually work and maintain a limited lifestyle. They live in their car, and that's another area that I'm very interested in. You know, how do you provide restroom facilities for them? How do you provide showers? Even though they don't want to go out and spend, you know, the large amount of money on rent, they want to live in their car, but they still need help as well. And so I want to look at that and fold that into how we would move forward with the solution.
It was my experience, Nick Montaño. It was my experience with the homeless committee that we did. Unfortunately, our council is very limited in what we can do. We can do the cleanups, we can do the outreaches and stuff, but the hard thing is what I would do is I would try to get our committee, the homeless committee, to go to our elected officials and ask the hard questions. Why are they spending money the way they're spending money when we can really do things in a practical way, in a more efficient way, if they were to ask us to do this? You know, there's a project that's not a very popular one. I don't know why they chose the location, but it's needed, but it's not needed there. Those are the questions that we need to ask those people, and because there's so many other options that we can do without having to spend thousands and millions of dollars. So that's what I would do.
Hey Jeff, can you read that question again, because I think I misunderstood it, because people aren't answering it the way that I understood it. So.
How would you actively support homelessness solutions committee working to resolve divisions between housed and unhoused residents of Chatsworth? That's read as it's written.
Thank you.
My name is Les Himes, and I kind of would like to approach this from the way Nick started it out. Again, I've been involved in some other committees. There is a tremendous, ungodly amount of money that has been spent on this problem, and a very, very tiny portion of it has ever gotten to the street. And we need, as taxpayers and residents, if we want to preserve our communities, we need to hold our electeds' feet to the fire. And this needs to stop being a jobs program for government, and the money needs to get to the people that are supplying the services on the street and to the people that need those services, whether it's jobs for people that are dislocated from their jobs, or mental health and drug and alcohol services for people that need those services. But we need to make sure the money gets to the road, because it's not. I think 4 years ago, the County of Los Angeles spent $7,000 per head on homeless, and the problem is only worse. So to me, that's the angle we need to take.
Jim Van Gundy. I have participated in the homeless committee. I've had other things going on at those times. So to start with, I would have to go to the homeless committee to get more awareness of the actual situation of the people and try to get dialogue going that way. The other thing has been pointed out, the city of Los Angeles County of Los Angeles have gone about this wholeheartedly in the wrong direction with just spending buku bucks on buildings. They needed to start at the ground level and assist people. For a long time, we had the RV problem here. They should have made campgrounds for the homeless that gave the services, the basic services for those RVs and those people, including drug and alcohol abuse assistance.
Andre Van der Vogt, and I'll echo the last two speakers and what I've got to say, other than to add that since the mid-90s, we have had $200 million at the city level available for supportive housing. 200 million. You know how much that's still left? Or actually, it's been reallocated towards other city expenses. But they spend tens of thousands, that's it. And they ought to be ashamed of themselves. We've actually recommended to them to take one of, because you do need a facility to house these people who do the analysis, who go out and whatever, so take one of the industrial buildings. Let's get one, either a long-term lease or whatever else the case may be, fill it with experts, and then go ahead and, if need be, set up bunk beds, things like this, set up showers. It can be done, but nobody wants to listen to it, and it just goes on deaf ears. Thank you.
Hello, Martin Cox here. In my extensive time working with the Samaritan Center in Simi Valley, there are different classes of homeless people that have been pointed out. There are people that are on the street because of involuntary circumstances, and they're living in their cars and trying to make a life out of that. And there are homeless people who don't want to be housed. They like their life, and that's what they prefer. And then you have other people that do want to get into housing and get a job, but they've been outside so long, they actually get actual paranoia and fear when they go to sleep inside. So it's a very complex problem, but I believe if we can find an organization willing to do something similar, using the Samaritan Center as a model, that would help out tremendously.
Miran Karajian, the homelessness issue, it's a critical and a major issue that has been growing and expanding in all areas, not only in Chatsworth. But I would agree that we have a homelessness committee that we can put a platform and a plan where we can reach out to all our officials and to talk to them. I'm quite confident there is a solution to it.
All right, maybe I misunderstood the question, but I thought it was about alleviating the divisiveness between the housed and the unhoused. Everybody else is talking about how we're going to alleviate the homelessness issue, and I don't think that was the question. If that's the case, we need to bring more people, like we do at the Neighborhood Watch, that we brought in the housing LASA we brought in, and they've updated us. That's one way to do it. As far as the divisiveness between housed and unhoused people, it's not going to happen. It's just not. Until people stop walking out of Ralph's with their hands full of goods and not paying for them, it's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, it's just not. I treat everybody with respect until they treat it. As long as they treat me with respect, they don't, I don't. That's just the way it goes. And until that stops, we're not going to stop fighting. It's just not going to happen.
What?
Like it or not, that's the way it is.
I'm not sure how to answer the question either, but my thoughts are very similar to Cher's. I've seen people steal out of Ralph's. I've also purchased food for people homeless or unhoused in Ralph's. Certain ones just touch my heart, and I'll do that. But as far as solving the problem, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that, other than the government isn't doing anything, I feel, and anyone here who wants to help homeless people, and they say that Chatsworth is NIMBYism, then I encourage those who want to help the homeless to take a homeless person into your backyard and get them back on their feet.
I
Thank you.
took one into my home.
Good
Take
girl.
10.
Thank you.
Take 20, take them from here.
All right, folks, remember the rules of operating. We're going to agree to disagree, but this is the time for you to hear from the candidates. And again, this is being recorded, and it's going to be up for the whole world to see. We don't want the Chatsworth Neighborhood Council to have a reputation that we have audience that is disrupting the meeting. So we're going to continue on. We're going to go on with the next response.
This is not a Q&A.
Right.
Let me
Best not to do that up there as well.
Hi, I'm Susie Hinch, and I'm talking about a question that I think a lot of us are confused on.
Nice, buddy.
The one thing, committee I started here years ago going to, and I kind of started this with CNC, is coming, is the homeless committee. And then I would come to the homeless committee, and then there wasn't a homeless committee. I've never seen more than, well, sometimes it was just Jeff and I sitting there, no quorum, so we said goodbye. But I've never seen people at the homeless committee, but more than maybe 5, let's say 10. I've never seen anybody outside that committee that are from the neighborhood in that community. I haven't seen any of the activists here today at this community, at the meeting, at our personal meeting. So if we start a community homeless meeting, it would be really inspirational if people on both sides of the fence came and we talked. And we talked nice to each other, and we tried to make some solution that America can't come up with.
That's the key. And then Frank Garrity, HHH should collect $1.2 billion. Only $0.2 billion went to the homeless, and $1 billion went to the architects and the consultants. We have a problem, and it has to do with information. We, as the Chatsworth Neighborhood Council, could be instrumental in providing information, since we can't provide solutions. Information could be telling all of our folks, hey, your money, your tax dollars that you voted for are going to consultants. You're providing housing to architects and developers, not to people who need it. You're not providing health services to the PTSD folks and the drug addicted people. Your money is going to a business called the business of homelessness. So if I were able to play on the homeless committee, I would be playing on the information game. Tell people what's really going on and embarrass them.
Hello, Mark Labash. You know, there isn't a homeless committee here. As far as I know, it hasn't been around for a while. I asked about it, and he says, oh no, it was useless. Nothing ever got done in it, so they dissolved it. So there is no homeless committee to be part of. Now, as far as relieving contention between people who are living here and the homeless who are living here also is you know, they see feces, the people aren't clean, they don't have health services. You know, the way I see it is take some of that billions of dollars and just set up someplace in an industrial area where they can have a locker, where they can have a shower, where they can go to the bathroom. The fact is they're doing it wherever, and if you don't give them someplace to do it, it's going to happen right in your backyard.
Linda Vandervalk, I think one thing that we should do is make sure that we understand someone who is homeless and has just lost a job or wants to, you know, get into shelter or this and that, and make that distinction between the drug addiction and the mental health and the people that really want a home. I watched something on Channel 9 the other day from downtown with the dealers selling the meth right there in front of the police and them shooting up on the thing. I mean, that was a scary thing that I don't think that our homeless committee, which we started one homeless public safety committee, I don't think it's something that we're going to be able to figure out because heaven only knows our politicians can't.
Rita Dunn, and the first thing that I would ask is that everyone be polite to each other and, you know, work through this. I have an organization called H-, and we work to alleviate that sort of dysphemic culture. in working with the community. I think you would be surprised to find how many people in the homeless community have the exact same feelings that you do, that they hate seeing people walk out with food, they hate seeing needles on the ground, they hate seeing trash everywhere, and we work actively to try to pick it up. And I have carried, like I said, tons of garbage on my back out of areas, and I have worked very hard to help people come out of the depravity that is homelessness. There is no way out of it, people say, but there is. I have a myriad of solutions that would coincide with what Chatsworth wants. I think that the liaison is the first step, and that, you know, then the second step is listening to each other. If we are willing to listen to you, you should be willing to listen to us, and we can come to some sort of adult conclusion on that. You know, you treat the people like animals and watch them act like it.
Chris Heyer. I don't know if I completely understand the question myself, but I do know that almost any time homelessness has come up, the first response is a NIMBY response, no matter where it is. So whatever money is available for whatever program that might be built here or constructed there, it's almost always going to encounter some pushback in a big way from the community. It's understandable, but we have to treat the issue with compassion, understand the reason, whether it's drug abuse, mental illness, or whatever, of the homelessness, and try and go forward in a compassionate way, deal with it that way.
Melissa Hall. In regards to what Nick and Susie were saying, I was on that committee, and yes, unfortunately, we had very little community members come and contribute. Therefore, it did dissolve because we had solutions amongst ourselves. We had no money to back it up, and we didn't have anyone else to come in with offers of resources to help us to do more. Now you ask on, whoever asked the question regarding how does a housed person look at an unhoused person, and how do you make that not such a hateful thing? That's really a one-on-one thing. Nobody on the board can make a housed person look at somebody else a different way, whether they're housed or unhoused. I've encountered homeless people that were very polite, that I've fed, that I've gotten into shelters, and I've encountered some very not polite ones, let's just say, to the point that my son felt like he had to get out of the car to defend me because I was being cursed at in my face. So it's up to each person's perception of what's happened, their experience, you know?
Before we get to our final round, just about final round, so I want to thank everyone for being respectful, mostly up to this point. Just a reminder, these are the people who stepped up to the plate to be candidates, at least, you know, all but 4 of them. And so they'll be on the ballot on March 21st. Your voice is your vote, and everyone that is in the community will have that same opportunity, and we would encourage you to have that, and certainly you can speak with them afterwards. But the time to speak as far as making decisions, and we're here to learn about the candidates, what they feel, what their priorities are. We just would encourage you to make your voice, your vote by showing up on March 21st and letting everyone else you know to do so as well.
This will be the last question. This came from the public as well. This is as important to Chatsworth as any question there is. Several people mentioned that they enjoyed the horses in their neighborhood, but what specifically will you do to help the equestrian lifestyle in Chatsworth?
Buy a horse.
Melissa Hall. I wish I could buy a horse for you. I'll do what's asked if there's help needed. Honestly, I'm not well educated when it comes to horses. I've never owned a horse, and but if there are events that you would like my help on, then I'm more than willing to help.
I myself am not well versed as, I'm not a horse owner, I've never been a horse owner, but I live in a neighborhood that allows horses. I'm happy to see them there. I'm happy to see all kinds of wildlife in the area. But as far as the restrictions or potential restrictions, I would do everything as a council member to fight against that and to promote the way of life we have here as horse owners in the community. It's This is the only community that I know of in the valley that, well, maybe not the only, but we got a rare situation here and we should preserve it at all costs.
Rita Dunn, and I learned to ride a horse at a very early age. I grew up partly with my grandparents, which we had a cattle ranch, and also we had horses, and I barrel raced ponies when I was younger. And so I love horses. As a matter of fact, I wanted to be a ballerina horse trainer when I was really little. So I think that horses are awesome, and I encourage that. I can't own one, but I absolutely am about all of that. And in Cable Canyon was very much a horse community as well, so I understand that.
Linda Vandervalk, I'd like to see that we keep up the good fight that we've been fighting all these years for our 20,000 square foot lots for the horses and make sure that we don't get overdeveloped. Of course, with the new thing with the ADUs, that they can build in their backyard an accessory dwelling unit, which cuts down the setbacks for the horses. But we need to continue that fight to keep these 20,000 square foot lots for the horses and to make sure that they're available. And some people go, well, the horses aren't coming. Well, we have one on Baden, but now we have 2 horses in that community, and we're getting a new horse community in Beast Canyon. So hopefully we can keep that up and keep up the horses.
Well, you know, owning a horse is not cheap. I know that because I have clients who afford horses. And one of the things you can definitely do is help horse owners manage their finances so that they can afford to have horses in the first place. And I'll do that part for sure.
Frank Garrity. I live in the trails. I live across the street from Stony Point. One of the things you can do is slow down. Make a little bit of space between yourself and those folks riding those horses down. They're not all trails. Some of them are in the streets. And I think encouraging our neighbors and everybody else to really practice the share the road with the horse thing, that's a big, big deal to me.
This is Susie Hanson. I'm a green in Rock Point. People go so fast down that valley circle with horses, it's scary. 1970, I fell off a horse and I never got back on. So I will support the people that have horses. I love the horses out and about and even the smell, but yeah, I'll stick with Rowdy. He's a cute little white pony. He's my type of horse.
Thank you. I'm Georgia Altmeyer. I don't own a horse, but I do live in a horse keeping area. I would want to protect all the horse keeping areas and keep Chatsworth a horse community. I don't want overdevelopment here. We've had so much overdevelopment, but as most people haven't noticed, we haven't had any addition to our police department to watch over all the people and the overdevelopment. I'm also concerned with speeding vehicles and horses. I will help out in any way I can with horses. I'm a big animal lover.